Hi guys, so happy to have you here, Jill from Point Reyes, and we have Sarah and Boo from Lady and Larder. I was going to say just from Southern California, but now you're coming to us from Carmel. How cool is that? Tell us what's going on.
Yay.
Yeah, we just opened a new shop up here in Carmel, and this is the town we grew up in. So we are really stoked to be able to contribute to this amazing little spot. We are centered out here in Carmel Valley, which is a 2-lane road 10 minutes down the way from Carmel by the Sea. So we're surrounded by wineries and farms. And we're in the middle of a pod of about 25 tasting rooms that all serve wine. So we're really excited to be here and offering cheese.
Oh, very cool. Can we expect a similar experience in Carmel that you are offering in Santa Monica?
It's going to be a different one. It's actually the size of the space is more like our first shop in LA, which is really petite and small. So we have a little wine corner and like some micro retail, I'm calling it. But we also have a beautiful patio, and we're going to be having a little wine bar this summer that's going to run from May to October. So we'll be pouring wine by the glass and small plates. And then we have our full catering operations and boards and all of those offerings. Sandwiches too. We'll have sandwiches this summer.
Oh, well, you have to offer your fabulous sandwiches because they are quite addictive. I'm so excited that you guys have joined us today. We are featuring women-owned businesses that we admire, that we do business with, or that maybe we just kind of aspire to be like, that we've been watching from our vantage point here in Point Reyes. And we just want to kind of talk to you about what it means and what makes you unique, given that you are women founded and women led. So why don't we just start with that first question? What makes you guys unique because you're women at the helm?
Go ahead, Boo. It's yours.
What makes us unique because we are women run? Well, I think I don't know if this is necessarily like unique to being women, but I think we're just people first. And so we really focus on the people behind the vendors that we work with and in the team that we hire. And so a lot of the things that Sarah and I have done, I mean, especially with building a business, the idea was kind of to build the life that we want. So we want to be home for dinner. We want to be with our kids. We want to be focused on our family. And so by creating a business with that in mind, we can kind of create the hours and the structure that works really well so that we can kind of do both.
Yeah, when we first started the business, the literal business plan was built around being home to put a potential baby to bed. So I was working in restaurants, you're working really late every night, and you're thinking like, how am I going to be a mom and like ever be home for them, put our kids to sleep? And Boo and I love dinner. Like, we're not big breakfast or lunch people. We love our coffee in the morning, but like dinner's the meal we all want to be at. It's where we slow down. It's where we have a glass of wine. So how can we build the life we want? And we really backed into the business plan around a business that could get us home for dinner.
Well, in retail, that's not easy. So what were some of the, I guess, harder decisions you had to make in order to realize that goal?
You just can't be everything to everyone. So I think you can over a span of time and in different places, but you realize that like, it's okay to have a niche and a specialty and set boundaries for the life you want to live, especially when you're a small business owner. And in the beginning, I mean, here we are 8.5 years into this business, and it still feels like we're in the first year sometimes, because you do now that we have a second location, you do everything. You do all the different jobs and parts and things. So a lot is required. And if you're going to show up in this big way every day to contribute to this like mutual dream that we have, and, we have to set some sort of boundary so that we can still have, be the moms that we want to be, because that's also really important. We have 3 kids between us right now that are all small. Mm-hmm. We need to show up for them too. And I think we can do it all. Just, we definitely have to set parameters.
Mm-hmm. Well, and, someone who's been in your shoes, we've been in our business now 24 years, and I started at the same time I was having babies, yeah, when they're young, you want to show up for them, but when they're older, you want to be a role model. And I think that what you guys are doing is really, putting forth that, as a working mother and an entrepreneur, you can still, participate with your kids' schools and their activities and show them what working hard, can look like in a really realistic and honest, authentic way.
I also am super inspired by watching you now, because I know that you and your sisters, your kids are older, college age mostly, and it's inspiring that I get to see, like, we're gonna have a different, like, when our kids get older, there'll be more time. There'll be time to do different things and other things. And it's fun to see women at different ages with their children at different ages in their careers, because it kind of gives me a focus of like, oh, so there eventually will be time here in this place that there might not be now. Like there'll be an evolution, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like how I put the question forth whenever opportunities come up, because it's definitely different. Like we can't be at every single thing you want to be at. You really, I think we ask ourselves a lot, like a year from now, what will matter? Will putting my, will being there at bedtime be important to me? Probably. Like it's really hard to outweigh that one right now, because they're small, they just grow so fast, and it's the end of my day is like the best part of the day. And so it's you just kind of weigh it out. And I feel like, Sarah, you mentioned it earlier, you try to make the best decision for today, and then in each day we kind of put that hat on, and it works out really well. But go ahead.
I was like, we just try and also hire a team of people that can contribute to the parts that maybe we aren't able to, like smarter than us, better than us, hopefully, and can pick up the slack in the spaces where we know that like that's not going to be for me today. But that's the number one question we get now is, well, who's running Los Angeles? And that's the hardest part when you go from 1 to 2 is, and especially in different cities, is how is it going to work if you're not in the building every day? And it works if you have magical team and people that you trust that believe in what we're doing as much as we do.
Well, and I know from personal experience, and just full disclosure here, my daughter works for these gals.
She does.
And she's actually, for her young age, has had several jobs. And so she came to me and she said, wow, Mom, Boo and Sarah have built this incredible culture. And now that they're in Carmel, they're still able to maintain it. It's so awesome. Everybody loves to come to work every day. They love their coworkers and they love what they do. So how have you fostered that environment? Even back when you were just one location, but certainly now that you have expanded to 2.
Well, we're acutely aware that like most humans spend the majority of their day at work or at their job. So we want to create an environment that people are excited to be at and come to. And if you're, we tell our team all the time, like if your life circumstance changes, if you're, where you live, what you want to do, anything changes, we have a couple of employees that commute on, hours to get to work. And I say all the time, I'm checking in, like, are you sure this is still serving you to come this far? And you realize that if you're building an environment that makes people feel seen and heard and like a part of a team, that people are willing to commute to be a part of that. So we're constantly checking in with each other and our team on like, how can we be better? What can we offer? How can we do it different? And we try and prioritize family. So if people have small children or things they need to be at, like we try and create accountability, but also flexibility in a work environment so people can have full lives.
I think it's also like radical transparency on both sides, like when we were preparing, when our dad got sick and when we decided we were going to fast track moving up here, we let everybody know as soon as possible. And you kind of like bring the team along and let them know, like, here's what's probably going to be happening. And here's where we're at. And here's what's going on. And here's what's important right now. And I think when you're transparent as a business owner, it gives people the opportunity to choose to be a part of that or not. And so that's really nice, because you constantly are checking in and letting them know, like, this is how it's going to change. And so I think the honesty is really important, and the transparency just around everything that you're doing in business. And we expect the same from them, on both ends, and it works out really well.
Yeah, I love that concept of radical transparency. I think I've often termed it as more just being really, truly authentic to yourself, and putting that forth in your brand and your mission. And, and that's what consumers want, that's what your employees want. in all of your networked relationships. So I think that's really cool. Okay, so let's talk about mentorship. I think that's, more apparent in women-led businesses than in typical traditional male-dominated, leadership roles. And so was that something that was important to you guys, as you were getting started and you were deciding to go off on your own and become entrepreneurs? Let's talk about that for a second.
Still now, I think mentorship, like both providing it and looking for it and finding like women that know a lot more than I do and have worked much longer than I have at the, any of the things that I'm working on. I'm a huge advocate for it and love it. And Boo and I try to do it in a small way also, because you realize when you're building a small business that so many other small business owners have the same questions. And I think what women are really great at is saying, I don't know. I don't know why. It's like men have a harder time not having an answer. I love saying, I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's find out together. Let me ask some questions. Like, we love being curious. We love questions. So I think that really lends itself to creating an environment where people feel like they can also ask questions and not have the answers. And I'm never afraid to pick up the phone and say, like, let me just ask. The answer was always no unless you ask, right? So we try and create that when people email us, DM us, call us. And sometimes we get emails all the time from shops like, I just opened a tiny cheese shop in Maine and we're huge fans. And do you know how to work this widget in Shopify? Or how do you guys figure out how to deliver in a city? What do you use to do that? And we'll take phone calls and questions all throughout the week from people. So sometimes the mentorship is like a small thing of just like business to business, woman to woman, like, yes, I'll give you, here, it took me a month to figure this out. So here's a link, like this will be really helpful, or here's the packaging guy you want to talk to, whatever the question is. And then for ourselves, Boo and I, our dad was like very much a person that was like, never stop learning. He always had 20 books on his nightstand and loved questions and curiosity. So that's been something that Boo and I've been fostered since we were kids. And I think now, especially when the higher you move up in your position or as a business owner, it can be lonely at the top. So you want to find people that you can ask questions. And Boo and I try and build that in like different, not just the industry we work in. So Boo and I love having like diverse friends in our age group. We love living in Carmel. It's obviously like an older dynamic of population here. So we get to like make older woman friends, which we're always really excited about. What do you think, Boo?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always like on the lookout for mentors too. And I think we live in a time that's so wonderful because we have this ability to just reach out and like DM and ask people that we are really big fans of or that we admire. It doesn't hurt to ask. And I think that I've always had, for the most part, a positive response whenever I reach out and say, hey, like, would it be okay if I, asked you a few questions about this? Or, hey, you really inspire me. And just kind of like looking for those opportunities. And like, I'm never afraid to ask someone for their email or contact either if I meet somebody and think that, hey, this would be a really cool person to talk to or know or get a cup of coffee with. And I think that it's a cool time for that because with all of the way, Instagram and TikTok and just the internet works, I feel like when we were little kids, it was so much harder. We had to like write letters to,
find
just
people.
PO boxes. And you're like trying to find out like does this letter ever get to this person? And now it's so much easier. So I say go for it. Anytime you see somebody that you think you'd like to, get to know or ask questions or just have as a contact. I think mentors, there's all different like kind of levels of that. And it's important to always keep the door open for those opportunities.
In both directions, right? When people reach out to you, responding to them. And I usually say, like, let's get on Zoom or FaceTime, it's like, I just feel that, I can have that deeper connection if I'm looking at someone and
totally.
I can't be there in Carmel right now for this conversation, but, let's do it on Zoom and who knows what can come out of it because of the power of just that, that physicalness.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about philanthropy and how you incorporate that into your business model and why you, if maybe you think that as women business owners that is maybe higher up in the the priority list for you in giving back through your business?
I would love to ask you about this because you have done such an incredible job growing your company and really doing a great job about picking your places and where you're giving back and what you're supporting. It's super hard as a small business to do because it's never something that's budgeted, right? You're just trying to figure out how to make it work and make enough money to like do this again next week and tomorrow and a year from now. And sometimes it's overwhelming to figure out how do we also give back and say yes on top of that when you're working with such a small operating budget. And what we found is that the only way to build real community is to give to your community and like authentically. So we do small things like host blood drives with a couple of different partners, but we try and do community-based things where people can come and like help us save lives for the day and then come out a sandwich hopefully. And we have amazing cheesemakers that always put together thank you bags for them. We do education with Girl Scouts in Greater Los Angeles, where we meet and teach kids that have never eaten a sheep's milk cheese or a goat cheese or maybe a soft cow cheese, and we get to teach cheese education with a couple different partners. We just try and pick organizations that are close to our heart. We were Girl Scouts, so when the opportunity came to give back to Girl Scouts, we were like, yes, this is an absolute yes. I'm lucky enough to sit on the board of directors for the American Red Cross in Los Angeles, so that really helps us. I started hosting blood drives, and that's how I became involved with that organization. And now I've gotten Boo involved, and she does mural work and gives back. And Boo paints murals. She's done them for the Red Cross, but she also does them at schools and places where they can help build community in public areas. So Boo and I try and pick organizations or projects where we can give back, because a lot of giving back is just your time. You don't need money to do that. So it's a good reminder for small business owners that it doesn't always have to be a financially driven give. It can be just your time and using your voice and awareness. There's also so many platforms that integrate into like a lot of the POS systems and online shopping like Shopify, where you can use an app to round up to the next dollar or donate 1% of your sales and pick a charity and change that monthly or quarterly. Those are all things that Boo and I talk about and look to do because it makes us feel really good. What's the point of having a business if we can't also like help build community and give back?
100% agree. Yeah, we started out really small, and a lot of it was, kind of under the guise of marketing. It's like, hey, donating cheese to this event gets cheese in people's mouths that maybe haven't been introduced to our products before. And then maybe it was also because we were long on products and we needed to move it, before its shelf life expired. So we're going to donate it to food banks and then it's, our employees coming to us and saying, hey, will you donate, either cheese or an educational experience on the farm for our kids' school, and it just started out small, doing what we felt that we could handle in a sustainable manner first. And then we started kind of growing and really putting it into our mission. Because it's good for our employees. It's good for, obviously the brand image, but it is really good for we want to be a strong, participant inside of our community. And then it was, okay, now let's figure out what are the silos that mean the most to us, our mother who was our biggest mentor was, really, really focused on education. That was just like her, like just sweet spot for wanting to give all of her time and energy that she could, especially helping underprivileged kids get educated and have opportunities in education and further education. And so that was something that, anytime, basically, I probably should broadcast this, but anytime a school, in the greater Bay Area says, solicits donation from us, it's just an automatic yes. If it's helping out children in any capacity for their after school programs, for girls in STEM, for, the FFA program, 4-H, it's an automatic yes. We just don't even think about it. But then it was also, okay, what are the meaningful, nonprofit causes that really benefit our employee base? Because we want our employees to feel that coming to work creates, a greater good than just adding to, their paycheck, to their monthly income, that it also feels good because the mission of the business that they work for, is supporting, different causes that are affecting them and their, whether where they live or, just some part of society that affects them specifically. So that's really a big focus of ours too. And then probably last for us, it's just as women and mothers, it's everything having to do with kind of women's reproductive rights and, moms demand action, because we're very much involved in the continued fight for sensible gun legislation. And then we have a large LGBTQ community inside of Point Reyes, and we want to give back to that community in a very specific and thoughtful way. And so the charity of choice for us is the Trevor Project, and that's something that we just put out there with our our Cheese Cares program, which now so ultimately 24 years later we've developed a whole part of our mission that's about cheese cares, and it's something that we'd love to be able to bring other cheese businesses into, but where we do concerted promotions that give back to specific charities that are near and dear to our hearts. So, cheese makes people happy, but it can also do good, more than just making you full and feeling delicious, So
That's so grateful to have companies like yours that create a little bit of a roadmap. Super inspiring, especially, I mean, so much of the work you do is, but it's inspiring that you can grow. And I think that's the most exciting part about growing a company, is that being the bigger you get, the more impact you get to have, which is exciting.
Well, right. And I think the other benefit of being an entrepreneur and a business owner is that the things that are important to you or to your family, like literacy or education, or like you were mentioning earlier, like your business can become an extension of that, and you can really use it as leverage and as a tool and as a platform to not only educate, but to promote something that's like near and dear to your heart. That's all we're all trying to do, right? Is
exactly
take care of the people we love, share what we've learned, and continue living, aligning morally with what we were raised and how we hope our kids will be raised. And hopefully your employees are drawn to that. I think that's why it's so great when people are public facing about that, because like Sarah mentioned earlier, we spend a third of our lives at work. And so you do want to align what you're doing every day with the things that you care about. And ideally everyone's giving back in whatever way they can, whether it's financially or with cheese or with time. There's so, like Sarah mentioned, there's so many different ways you really can contribute to your community and to the organizations you care about.
Absolutely. Okay, we've probably already gone over, so I'm just going to ask one more question, and that is, so you guys have been in business for, you said 8.5 years?
Yes, May 1st, 2016, we opened our doors.
Okay, so what, in hindsight, what would you say to your younger selves, 10 years ago, 9 years ago, as you were, kind of coming up with your business plan and laying the foundation? What would you say to yourself today, looking back, like, oh, why did I worry about that? Or why didn't I worry about, this,
I would say, don't worry about it. Just go for it. Go for it. And don't worry about having all the answers. Just get started. You just start.
It all works out.
You just start. Yeah. And that honestly, it is like, and I tell everyone that works for us, everyone that moves on to a different, maybe it's different career, or any other career, friends, advice, people ask all the time, and I really think that it doesn't matter where you work or what you do, that life is just relationships. So don't burn bridges. Try and show up and make other people's lives easier and better each day. And I genuinely think that always pays it forward. And if you're showing up to your job with that kind of intention every day, good things happen. Great opportunities come.
Boo, anything you want to add?
Yeah, just don't sweat the small stuff. I think that we all are learning something new every day, and it's trial and error. And I think that as women, we're naturally extremely collaborative. And that's a wonderful skill set to have when you're building a business, to be able to delegate and share and build a community and build a team of people that want to create magic with you is all we can hope for. And so I think that a lot of it's just fear of getting started, and just go for it, because it's all overwhelming and feels difficult until you just start kind of checking it off. And I think that
failure is part of it. Failure is all part of the process.
You learn, and then you keep going and you do better the next day. And it's all really fun. And I think that we only get one shot at this life. So might as well be doing something you love every day, and it's totally worth it.
Good point. Love it. Okay. Any other thing you guys want to talk about?
Should we do this weekly? You want to just hang with us like once a week?
I have like